In this lesson, you will learn how to link between pages in Bootstrap Studio, the difference between relative and absolute URL, and how to build navigation bars. Let's begin with the fundamental navigation component, the link. We introduced links in the text component lesson, which I recommend you watch before this one. We won't explain all the settings again, but we'll focus our attention on the URL option. The URL determines where users will navigate to when they click the link. There are several ways to link to a page or website. The first one is to type the full URL like this. This is known as an absolute URL. You always have to include the HTTPS part in front. You can link to a page like this or link to a file. When linking between pages of your website, you can also use a full URL like this, but it's a lot of typing. This is where the second way to write a URL comes in. You can leave out the domain part of the link and write only the page like this. This is called a relative URL. When the browser sees a link pointing to this address, it assumes you are referring to the same website. So for example, if the user is on the index page and clicks the link, they will be redirected to the About page. If we create a folder and move the About page inside it, our link won't work anymore since the About page is not on the same level as the index page. This is why when you move a page, Bootstrap Studio automatically adds the folder to the link URL. This is done in a separate history entry, so you can undo once to restore the URL and a second time to undo the move. Redoing also takes 2 clicks. Let's add a link on the About page that navigates to the index. If we only write index.html, it is not going to work, because this will result in the browser looking for it in the same level as the About page. We have to link one level up. This is done by adding 2 dots and a slash like this. This will work, but if you have multiple nested folders, you will have to add this for each level, which gets difficult to manage. There is a better approach. If the URL starts with a slash, the browser will resolve it starting from the root instead of the current page. So if we write the URL like this, it will always resolve to the index, regardless of how many folders deep we are. But there is more. The index.html page is special, and web servers return it when no other page is specified. So we can get rid of everything and just link to our index page like this. On the index page, you can add a leading slash too if you wish to make the link relative to the root. Prefixing links with a slash is also the best solution for making linked navbars work, as you will see later in the video. Another option relevant to our lesson is target. If you wish your link to open in a new tab, set it to the blank value. This can be useful in some cases, but overall, it is best to leave links open in the same tab when linking between pages of the same website. If you open the editor panel, you can see that links are represented as anchor or A tags. The URL is set as the href attribute. You can edit the attribute directly from here. In some cases, you may need to style a link to look like a button. You can do this by dropping a button component on the page. You can see that it is represented with a button HTML tag, but we can switch it to be a link like this. This turns it into an anchor tag, and we can set a URL like this. Now, when users click the button, it will take them to the About page like a regular link. A related component to the link is breadcrumbs. It combines several links in a bar. You can use it to visually represent a hierarchy of pages or categories. Each link is represented by a breadcrumbs item. You need to select it to get access to its URL option, and you can add more items from these buttons. Each item can be marked as active. The pagination component works in a similar way. Each page is represented by a pagination item. you change the link address from the URL option. We can now proceed to the nav component. This is a versatile element with several different layouts. You can switch it between a tab style, default, and pills. You can also align vertically and justify the content to take the full width. One thing to look out for is that selecting an element like this selects the link component. Selecting the nav item like this reveals a couple of extra options. The first marks the item as disabled, the second as active. Then we can remove active from the first nav item. A quicker way to do this is to use the toolbar. You can also add more nav items. If you resize the page, you will see that the extra links simply wrap on multiple lines. This is not a good experience on mobile and is the main disadvantage of using the nav component as the main navigation of a website. We need a component that is fully responsive and works on any screen size. This is where the most important navigation component in Bootstrap Studio, the navbar, comes in. Drop it as the first component in the page. If you inspect the structure, you can see that it consists of several child components: a brand, a toggle, and collapse. The links are contained in a nav component. When you resize the page, the collapse component disappears and the toggle shows up in its place. In the browser, you can click it to reveal the collapse and the links inside it. In Bootstrap Studio, you can use this button. So basically everything that you put inside the collapse will be hidden on mobile. Let's try adding a button. This will insert it outside the nav, but inside the collapse component. It will disappear on small screens and be revealed after the links. To center the links, select one of them and go up to the nav. Here is the special alignment option. Set it to center. This will push the button to the end. The navbar gives us quite a few options. To control responsiveness, you can use the expanded option. You can set it to always be in the collapsed state by setting it to never. Or set it to a specific breakpoint on which it switches from collapsed to expanded. To demonstrate the next option, first drop a container in the page, and then move the heading inside it. If I resize the canvas, you can see how the heading snaps to specific breakpoints, while the navbar always expands to the full width of the page. You can make the navbar behave like the container by turning off the fluid option. This works because the navbar actually has its own container element inside it. It wraps around all the elements of the navbar and is what makes it responsive. From our responsive design lesson, you may remember that you shouldn't nest containers within other containers because this leads to extra padding. The same applies for navbars. They should ideally be the first element in the page and placed directly in the body, like we've done here. Now let's focus our attention on the Smart Active State option. This is a powerful tool when building multi-page websites. To demonstrate it, we first have to make the navigation links work. The first link will point to the index page. The second link will point to the About page. Delete the last link. Remember to remove the nav item as well. We will also change the brand. In a real website, this would hold a logo and name. We will use an icon to stand in for a logo. Just drop it before the first letter. Since the brand is a regular link, we can make it point to the index page with the URL option. If you select the first nav item, you can see that it's marked as active. This applies an active class name on the link, which makes the text a bit darker. The idea is to indicate to users which page in the navbar they are currently viewing, but the way it is styled in Bootstrap makes this barely noticeable. Let's improve this. Select the link and duplicate this CSS block to your style sheet. This way we can edit it and make the text bold. Now it's easy to tell which the active link is. We now have a basic navigation bar, but we need to bring it to our other page as well. The simplest way to do this is to copy and paste like this. If we publish the website online and open it in the browser, we can see a couple of problems. The first is related to the link URL. As you saw earlier, links are relative to the current page. The link is correct when going from the index page to about, but the link back to the index leads to a not found page. The solution is the same we did earlier. We can link to the root like this, which will return the index page automatically. We'll do the same for the brand. The second problem is that we need to switch the active link on the About page. We could switch the active links around, but this points to a deeper issue. If our website grows to more pages, we can't keep the navigation in sync by hand like this. We need a more automated solution. This is where linked components come in. Here is how it works. Remove the active state of the link, then copy the navbar like before. Switch to the index page. Remove the old navbar. Right-click the body and choose Paste Linked. This creates a linked copy of the navbar. You can tell by the blue link icon. This means that when we update the navbar on one page, it is automatically updated on the other. So now we can do things like update the links and logos, and it will affect our entire website. We will explain more about linked components in a separate video. But you may be wondering how we are going to update the active link if the navbar syncs across pages. Won't it be the same everywhere? This is where the Smart Active State option comes in. It automatically marks the correct navigation link as active depending on which page we are on. This shows the home link as active here and the About link active on the other page. When Smart Active State is turned on, nav items get a few additional settings. Here you can deactivate the automatic highlighting or choose to make the link active when the page matches a pattern. We'll come back to this in our blog video, where we make a navigation link active on all blog post pages. To demonstrate the rest of the navbar options, let's create a new design by using one of the built-in templates. We have a number of pages here, and the navbar is already set up with the Smart Active State option, so it highlights the current page. The other noteworthy option is Position, which is set to Sticky Top. This keeps the navbar fixed on the top of the browser window when we scroll. Another useful option is Color Mode. With it, you can switch the navbar to a dark theme. We will explain how this works in our theming lesson later in the series. Here is a cool and easy effect you can try. Set the navbar to a white background with a bit of transparency. This will make the content underneath the navbar visible. Then switch to the Appearance panel and under Backdrop Filters, activate Blur. Some designers refer to this as a frosted glass effect. You can try a dark version as well. The final topic we will cover in this video is building navigation bars for single-page websites. In a single-page website, as the name implies, you only have your index page. This can work for simple business card-style websites with little content. The links in the navbar will scroll the browser to specific content instead of redirecting to different pages. Smart Active State is not designed for this type of navigation, so we should disable it. The next step is to give the sections of our website unique IDs because we will be using them for navigation. The first section will become Start. The next will be Services. After this, Projects. Then Testimonials. And lastly, Contact. We need each of our navbar links to point to a section. You do this by typing a hash character followed by the ID. When the user clicks this link, the browser will automatically scroll to the element with the given ID. Change the other items as well. For this link, we will change the text too. If you view the page in the browser, you can see how each of the links scrolls to the relevant section. However, there is no indication which link is active. There is a special setting we can use. Select the body and scroll down in the options. The one we need is called Scroll Spy. Activate it and select the navbar as a target. Scroll Spy will monitor when the page is scrolled and update the links of the navbar with the active state as each section comes into view. In the browser, you can see how the navbar links update when we scroll, and clicking an item navigates to the correct place. Something to keep in mind is that Scroll Spy can get confused if elements are small. For example, if I click Projects or Testimonials, it will lose track which section we are viewing. To fix this, make sure that your sections have sufficient height so that Scroll Spy can determine which element is in view. We can make the project cards taller by copying over a section heading. Then add some spacing. We can make the Testimonials section taller by duplicating some of the items. Now Scroll Spy correctly identifies which section we are viewing. However, there is one last issue we need to address. Since the page scrolls to the start of the section, if there isn't sufficient top padding, the element will be covered by the navbar. We can solve this by adding more padding to each of the sections, but there is a more elegant solution. We can tell the page to leave room for the navbar when scrolling. This is done with a CSS rule called Scroll Padding Top. Add it as a CSS block in your style sheet like this. We now have a working navigation that scrolls to the different sections of our single-page website. Thank you for watching this lesson. Check out our other videos to learn more about Bootstrap Studio.